Hello, and welcome to the 13th episode of Bare Bones for the Practical PM series. In this series, we pick up topics that are important to product managers, cut through the fluff, and get to the essence of it. In this episode, we are going to talk about user personas and, more importantly, user segmentation. Like a bunch of concepts in product management world, user persona is an interesting idea that is often overused or misused. What is the real point of personas? Does every product discussion and every decision making need to start with personas? Does being user centric mean stuffing every document with user personas? Let's find out. But before that, if you have not checked out my book, so you want to be a product manager yet, please do that right away. I would look forward to your reviews and feedback. The link will be in comments. So, coming back to personas, this is the definition I have lifted from Wikipedia. A persona in user centered design and marketing is a fictional character created to represent a user type that might use a site, brand, or product in a similar way. The definition is fine and nobody will quarrel with it. But let's focus on the most important part here, that is, the persona represents a user type that may use your product in a particular way. Another name for this is user segments. As a product manager, you must understand user segments and how to use them. Creating personas for these segments may serve a purpose in some cases, but persona is one of the outcomes of the user segmentation exercise, a way of representing and consuming the result of segmentation. It is not something that you start with, and it is also not something essential for using segmentation well. Segmentation, though, is a big and important deal. So let's dive deeper into it. The idea of segmentation has its origin in marketing function, where we talk about market segmentation. I am lifting the definition from Wikipedia again. Market segmentation is the process of dividing up mass markets into groups with similar needs and wants. As over-catered consumers in today's world, the idea is pretty intuitive. It shouldn't need a lot of explanation. A pressure cooker meant for a big family is different from a pressure cooker meant for a newly minted professional in their first job staying alone or with a roommate. People above 35 are on Facebook, or is it above 30? But youngsters are on Instagram as their preferred social network. Indian consumers need assembly service for their furniture purchases, while US consumers are comfortable with do it yourself options. We are talking of different segments for each market, the market for pressure cookers, social media, and furniture. Segmentation can be done along demographic criteria, age, income, gender, etc., or along psychographics, which usually involves understanding activity, interests, and opinions, often referred to as AIOs, of people, like their hobbies, political inclination, attitude towards life, religion, society, etc. Segmentation can also be geographic, meaning where users are. And finally, it can be behavioral, which essentially looks at users' behavior in relation to the specific market we are trying to segment. For example, are they frequent buyers or occasional? Or where are they on the buyer readiness scale? Are they unaware, aware, have intention to buy, etc.? Typically, the way marketing uses segmentation is to first pick up a meaningful way to segment the market, then pick up the segments they want to target, and then create marketing messaging to target the chosen segment. To be able to do this, they would need to select segments that are big enough to be lucrative and also whom their company can cater to given its strengths. For example, in case of apparels, there could be a segment that demands customized apparels, which may be a pretty lucrative segment. But if the marketer is from a company that does mass manufacturing, then irrespective of lucrativeness, that segment is not right for the company. It will focus on segments that can be catered through mass manufactured apparels. They may specifically choose to target the segment of students and young professionals who are fashion conscious but have limited spending power. One of the most important things about how you segment the market is that the segment should be actionable. In case of marketing, this means that there is a way to reach that segment through your messaging, and there is a message that specifically works for that segment. So if for apparels you decided to do just age-based segmentation that the production department uses, it may not be particularly actionable for marketing. While manufacturing apparels, you need to know the target age to create them in suitable sizes. But when it comes to marketing messaging, segments like newborn, 6 months to 2 years, 2 to 4 years, 15 to 19 years, and 20 plus years may not provide much clue. Instead, you may need a children's segment where parents take most decisions. So you will define your segment as parents of children in the age group 0 to 12 years in a certain income bracket and in specific geographies, say metro cities. Then there may be a teenager segment where they take their own decisions about what to buy, and hence further psychographic segmentations may have to be done. But you will also need to take into account the spending capabilities which may depend on parents and hence their income, geography, etc. Adults paying for themselves may again have different segments depending on income, social situation, psychographics, etc. These segments are likely to be actionable in terms of specific marketing message or product offering designed for them. In the digital age, most of these segments can also be reached with targeted message relatively easily. In case of business markets, it can be segmented by size of the company, industry, country, and other business characteristics like local versus multinational, family run versus professionally run, etc. Moving on from marketing, when product picks up the concept of segmentation, instead of market segmentation, we typically apply it to the users. We talk about user segmentation. People who come to your product or are expected to come to your product, who are they? There may be segments out there in the market that have not been targeted for your product at all. So you focus on the ones who have been targeted and brought to the product. For the purpose of product decision making, do they all belong to the same segment or are there multiple segments in there? Sometimes segments used by product org may be derived from marketing segment, sometimes they may not. Because remember that the most important thing about segments is that they have to be actionable. For marketing, it usually translates into segmenting markets so that one segment can be reached with specific messaging and there are marketing channels available to reach it. So it may so happen that even if the users are brought to your product through different messaging, what they need from your product is the same. So you do not need to treat them as different segments. For example, in an e-commerce product, different segments of users may have come with different benefits in mind. But if you are a product manager working on checkout funnel, then you may have to do similar things for all of them. On the other hand, it may also happen that one marketing segment has users who need different treatments in the product. So if your product offers different financial products like mutual funds, direct stocks, etc., then marketing may define mutual fund buyers as one segment. But when they land on your product and you are responsible for activating them, that is, make them do the first set of transactions on your product, then you may need to do further demographic, psychographic, or behavioral segmentation. A first-time buyer of mutual fund may need different treatment than an experienced buyer. A low-risk profile buyer should see different options on their landing page than a high-risk buyer. So you would want to segment the users accordingly. Sometimes a totally different kind of segmentation may make sense for product than what marketing uses. Marketing may use demographic segmentation because their advertising channels help them reach demographic segments. But in product, you collect behavioral data and segmentation based on that may be more effective in designing the right product for different sets of users. So in practice, if marketing has already done segmentation, it can inform product segmentation, but product should think about user segments on its own so that it is relevant for product decision making. Even within the product organization, relevance of any one type of segmentation may vary from team to team. To pick up the e-commerce example mentioned earlier, those designing search screens may have to think of what different segments of users are looking for. A segment looking for low priced products will need different results than a segment looking for high quality branded products. Those working on product and landing pages will have to think of fashion buyers versus electronic buyers. But their requirement from checkout process is likely to be the same. In case of B2B products like an HRMS system, marketing or sales segmentation may be based on factors that affect decision making around buying. So the size of the company or industry may be how they are segmented. For product, while they may have to look at company size and industry as segmentation variables, for user segmentation, it may be more important to look at the specific role the users have. Recruiters, HR business partners, employees being managed in the system, people managers, senior management. A segmentation based on such roles will be beneficial in product decision making. In case of product, sometimes segmentation may get confused with use cases. On your e-commerce app, are the fashion buyers and electronic buyers two different segments, or are fashion buying and electronics buying just two different use cases? If your product has both digital and physical products, are physical product buyers and digital product buyers two different segments, or are physical product checkout and digital product checkout just two different use cases? The answer will depend on specific data your product gives you. Are the same people buying both kinds of things? Or is there very little overlap in the two sets of users and they are different when it comes to motivations to use your e-commerce product, behavior on the product, or the needs they fulfill from using your product? Segmentation is creating groups of users based on this. Use case is creating a group of actions. Many times it wouldn't matter if you're identifying the two as two different segments or just two different use cases, because you may end up taking the same decision as far as the product is concerned and it will be right. But in forming the larger picture, or while figuring out product vision and strategy, and in communication with stakeholders, it would become problematic if you confuse one with the other. Understanding segmentation is important even if your product is so focused that all your relevant users belong to a single segment. You should still know what that segment is, because this is the first step towards user empathy and understanding your users. You must know who are the users of your product. Defining segments is not a quick exercise done off the top of your mind. It requires data, market research, and domain understanding to come up with relevant and actionable segments. If you join an established company, a lot of this has probably been done. But if you are in an early stage company, you will have to be a part of this exercise. The segments that are important for you may even change with time because the users, products, as well as business evolve with time. A product that started by targeting individual developers may evolve to become a B2B product bought by enterprises. The product, business, and users have changed, and hence your understanding of user segments will also have to change. Understanding user segments is important and very helpful, but the word we hear more often is personas. What is a persona? It is nothing but a fictional character representative of a segment. So if you have a segment definition, do you need personas? Well, the answer is you don't necessarily need personas all the time. If you have defined a segment like female white collar professional aged 25 to 40 years, then giving them a name and a specific job or company is not always needed. However, there are people and there are situations when creating that fictional character and creating that persona can help you or some other stakeholders relate better. If that is indeed the case, go ahead and create a persona. Persona is a way to consume segment information. If saying a female white collar professional aged 25 to 40 years does not help you visualize what the user's day is like, but Karina, who works as an HR manager for an IT company who can do her household shopping only over weekends, does help you visualize it, by all means create a persona. Creating a persona can also help in communication with stakeholders, especially if your user segments are such that the stakeholders and decision makers don't really identify with them. So if a company run by young male engineers is catering to homemakers, then defining a segment as female homemaker aged 20 to 45 may not help them empathize. But a persona, Anupama, who is 30 years old, gets up before everyone else in the morning, rushes through morning chores to make sure her children are in time for the school bus, and her husband gets his breakfast before he leaves for office, and she gets only 2 hours of free time in the afternoon before children return from the school. This persona can help them empathize better. But the same set of stakeholders may find it easy to understand the segment of 22 to 30-year-old white-collar professionals, even without a vivid persona to go along with it. When you do create personas, remember that a persona should have a segment behind it and it shouldn't under or over describe the segment. For example, if in your segment introvert versus extrovert personality does not matter, but you describe the persona as having behaviors that clearly put them in extrovert categories, for example, they are partying at every chance available, for example, then those consuming the persona may make wrong assumptions about the underlying segment. Persona description should also not be overloaded with information that have no relevance to your product. They need to be rich enough to empathize, but not more. Describing your persona's hobbies, if hobbies don't matter to your product, may only distract the stakeholders consuming the persona instead of helping them understand it better. Like a lot of things in product management, personas are created with a goal in mind, and that goal is to help yourself and stakeholders empathize with users in a way that matters to your product decisions. So, what information you include or exclude should be driven by that goal. Don't use some template to put in information without thinking about whether it is relevant to your use case or not. So that is all about user personas and user segmentation. Hope this was useful. Do tune into the next episodes as well. And do not forget to check out my book, So You Want to Be a Product Manager. The link is in comments. Thank you.